welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Money Matters, our third session for the fall semester on cybersecurity and identity theft. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We are so happy that you are here today, and we hope to share a lot of great information. As we all know, we are all constantly being targeted by scams and all kinds of different people out there trying to get our information. So it's important to know how to protect our identity. And so with that, I'll go ahead and just mention that we have a few housekeeping items. So we ask everybody, just for the sake of to help each other know who we're collaborating with today, to rename your Zoom profile with your first and last name and your pronouns, if you would like. Also, I do want to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. So we ask that you keep your camera on if you like, but if you feel uncomfortable, you are more than welcome to turn off your camera as well if you don't want to be recorded. And we do have captions available. Thank you, Gabe, for being here today. And we all ask that all microphones remain muted for the duration of the session. And if you do have any questions at any time, we do have some time at the end of our session today for Q&A, but at any time throughout the event, feel free to submit your questions through the chat box, and we will keep track of your questions as well. And as always, we ask that you keep the conversations civil, respectful, and clean for the sake of all. And we do welcome your feedback. So at the end of this session, we will be sharing a survey link, and that also gives you an opportunity to earn a certificate of completion from 1AZ. All right, so also great news, we have some prize opportunities. If you start following us on social media, you may be entered into a drawing for some swag items. We'll announce the winners at the end of our session today, but follow us at Pima FYE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow us at pima.financialaid.scholarships on Instagram. And again, the two winners will be announced at the end of the event today. So in addition to that, we also have a tuition award that will be available. And this opportunity, if you've been one of our students that have been joining us for the previous two events, joining this third event, you will be entered into a drawing for a $250 tuition award. And they could be used either for this fall semester currently or next spring semester. So with that said, I do want to go ahead and introduce the teams that have made it possible to bring this session to you today. With us, I'll have our team members present themselves. And so Juanita, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Juanita Bonillas, and I work in the scholarship office with Carla. I'm excited to have everyone here today. I'll be monitoring the chat, so if you have questions, just put them in there. Thank you.
Thank you. And although they couldn't be with us here today, they have been supporting our program and collaborating as well. So we have missing today, but Tony Silva Garcia from our Scholarship and Outreach Office as well. He's been part of the collaboration between 1AZ and Pima Community College and FYE, first year experience, and also Renee Forsyth. She couldn't be here today with us, but she is a program developer for first year experience. And so together we've all been collaborating to bring Money Matters to you. So, and last but not least, yours truly, my name is Carly Gonzalez. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the Assistant Director of Scholarships and Outreach. And also joining us today, we have our presenter from 1AZ, and again, partners through Money Matter for the, I'm sorry, bringing Money Matters to you. They've been collaborating and partnering with us. So with that said, I'll let Patrick introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Patrick Munger, and I'm with 1AZ Credit Union. I'm the Southern Regional Manager here in the Southern region. So for anything local, I'm right here for you as at your disposal. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And of course, we're going to go ahead and get into the presentation here shortly.
Thank you, Patrick. And just really quick, before we get started, we do have a quick video for you today. And just talking about cybersecurity, and then so if you give me 1 minute, I'll go ahead and get that ready for you. All right.
Phishing is a method of trying to gather personal information using deceptive emails and websites. Stay tuned for what you need to know about this increasingly sophisticated form of cyber attack. The goal of phishing is to trick an email recipient into believing that the message is something they want or need, a request from their bank, for instance, or a note from someone in their company, and to click a link or download an attachment. Fish is pronounced just like it's spelled, which is to say like the word fish. The analogy is of an angler throwing a baited hook out there, the phishing email, and hoping you bite. What really distinguishes phishing is that attackers masquerade as a trusted entity of some kind, often a real or plausibly real person or a company the victim might do business with. It might be your boss, your bank, or a company whose software you use. Perhaps one of the most consequential phishing attacks in history happened in 2016. When Russian hackers managed to get Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta, to offer up the password to his personal Gmail account. How did they do it? The hackers sent an email warning Mr. Podesta that someone had his password and that he should change it immediately. Clicking on a link in the email took him to a fake login page. This is a classic ploy, and one all of us would hope we would see for what it is. But email scammers are constantly honing their craft, trying new pitches, and pulling new strings. One way to get familiar with their tactics is to study the email messages that scammers send. Here are a few real-world examples and how they work. 1. Your account has been hacked. The person sending this threatening phishing message found a group email that was publicly available on the company's site. Using that list to target the message was smart. Not so smart was the content of the message, in which the would-be attacker reveals a lack of understanding of how malware works. 2. Password reset. Taking advantage of the fact that no one wants to miss a paycheck, messages like this one aim to trick the user into revealing important data, often a username and password that the attacker can use to breach a system or account. 3. Payment request. This email has enough information specific to the target company to give even the most phishing-savvy recipients pause. The key to not getting caught in this trap is to know your company's processes and to be able to spot anomalies. 4. Charity donation. Here the scammer is counting on the greed and gullibility of the recipient. This theme of giving something away for free is a common one and preys on human nature. The key thing to remember is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. And now I'll go ahead and turn it over to our presenter, Patrick.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and get that going for us here. And share screen 2. All right, hopefully you can see the presentation there. So essentially this is identity theft and of course cybersecurity. Now, of course, this information is brought to you by Green Path Financial, and they are, of course, our partners, and that's where we get most of the information that we have to offer here. With Green Path, let's see here. One moment. technical difficulty. All right, so GreenPath is an organization that's been, of service since 1961, and of course they do offer several financial benefits, if you will, housing, counseling, credit report, and as well as debt management is what they offer. So in this case with identity theft, what is identity theft? And we definitely want to answer those questions for you today. And that's what this workshop is going to be about, is going into the pillars of what it is, how does identity theft occur, how do the thieves use your information, how do you protect yourself, and what do you do should you find yourself being a victim of identity theft. So let's go ahead and get started with the basic here. So as far as identity theft, you want to think about it in this form. Let's say, for instance, in 2018, we actually had 14 million people who were victims of identity theft. And of course, it's really easy for each and every one of you to think, oh, it may not happen to you, but believe you me, it happens to each and every one of us. At least every minute, 19 people are a victim of identity theft. And this is all from the Javelin strategy of research. And they basically give us that information stating that. So identity theft may be scary, but it's very important to arm yourself with all the information that you need to basically get out of that rat race, if you will, and of course, protect yourself. So you want to think about identity theft happening in the sense of computer crime. There's also computer crime, which occurs when data is stolen. For instance, like right now, we're surfing the internet. They may be hard at work right now trying to, get our information. So it's very important to be aware of that. The other thing would be personal betrayal. And that actually happens all the time as well, especially with the elderly, let's say our grandparents. And of course, it happens to everyone, but they look at the elderly as easy prey. And for instance, it was one of those things where, a quick example, when I was actually a caregiver at one point, I'd have a gentleman who was the landscaper, utilize the checkbooks of the client and write his own checks and take advantage of that. And then fast forward, when I was a personal banker at Chase, somebody came in and try to add themselves to the account with the client, stating that they wanted to be added to the accounts to help them. But you have to be aware and know the laws. And that's something where we were like, okay, can you step aside? Let's talk to the member by themselves and see if this is something that they wanted to do on their own. And lo and behold, it wasn't. So we filed our elder abuse claim on them, and we stopped that loss from happening. So personal betrayal is definitely in the rise as well. Then we have document loss. This is essentially where you either lose your purse or you lose your wallet, and you have your personal documentation in there. You have your ID, you have your Social Security. Like I used to carry mine in my wallet. I don't do that anymore. But document loss happens that way as well. And then we also have business leaks. With the leaks, it's essentially, I'm sure you've heard of not too long ago where I think it was Equifax. They had a data breach, so all the information was exposed, and they actually gave everybody 1 year, service for Equifax, credit monitoring because of that. So that happens to big businesses as well, and it happens to each and every one of us. All right. And then how do the thieves use your information? So that's definitely a topic that everyone that was a victim, especially in the banking industry, when they would come in, they're like, oh, I'm reporting fraud. How did this happen? And that's a question that we all ask. So they either steal your wallet or your mail. It could also be a dumpster dive. I see a lot of people, picking, and you don't know what they find, but it's important to make sure that you shred your documents before you throw them in the trash. It could also be where they just maybe burglarize your house. They rob your house or your business. And then, of course, the email scams, which would be the phishing. ATM and credit card skimming. That actually, I witnessed that last, I believe 2 weeks ago. I was at the gas station and I was looking to, get gas, and I saw a gentleman on a bike, punching in numbers in, at the terminal there. And I'm like, what is it doing here? So I had to kind of go inside, let them know, hey, somebody's tampering with the machines out there. And, that was firsthand. That was my first time seeing something like that. But I was well aware. I'm like, okay, this is something I was just trying to do. And then the corporate data breaches, the Equifax, then the farming, and then the phishing. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the farming and phishing. So with farming, this is a process that steals information from unsuspecting internet users, right? Such as yourself and I. And they're really just out there looking to see if they can find someone that's going to bite on that bait that they put out there. They'll say, oh, you won $3,000 or you won this, and you just need ABC so that way we can get that money to you. So they're fishing for people that are going to bite on those on that bait, if you will. All right. So how are you supposed to know if the site you're on is secure or if it's trustworthy? The one thing is usually in the URL. Everybody just looks at it as HTTP : and they're like, don't really understand why or what that means, but every character actually means something. So in this case, we have HTTPS, and the S there really stands for secure. So whenever you see that, and you're actually on a secure site, and you should be comfortable enough to proceed, well, still with caution, but at least if you know that it's secure, then you know that the information you provide there won't be stolen or utilized for fraud. All right, so phishing practice, online fraudsters use the, of course, phish, which is essentially just looking to get, passwords or redirect you to get any personal information that they can get away with. So it's important that you're either using a VPN or something that will kind of prevent people from, getting your information there. All right, so I'm sure a lot of us have received emails in the past where they either say, oh, it's urgent that you change your password, your account is at risk or something of that nature. And we just either click on it, or some of us who are aware, either call the institution and let them know, hey, did you guys send me this, or should I go ahead and do this? So with this sample email here, it'll show you some of the red flags that are on there. So for instance, Fargo, so there's a typo there. So it's important to be aware of the typos that are present in those emails. So if you take some time to skim through and read what's on there, as opposed to just going ahead and clicking on the link, it'll save you a whole lot of heartache and of course time, because when you want to go ahead and fix your whether it be your credit or fix your identity, it takes some time. It's a huge process, and we'll definitely get into that as well. All right. So the other thing too is, how do they use the information? Essentially, once an identity thief steals your identity, they can either apply for credit cards, they can either open loans in your name, they can withdraw funds from your accounts, and of course, they can use it to either gain or obtain insurance through your name, medical care, and then of course, using your Social Security number to steal your tax refund when it's that time. And then they also sell that information on the dark web. So that's one of many ways, basically, of how they use that information. And then how do you protect yourself? This is basically where you pretty much start by monitoring your credit by going to annualcreditreport.com. And that is going to basically give you an insight of where you are. And if you were part of the previous presentation or workshop, we went over credit. So you start off by going to annualcreditreport.com and you just pull your report from all 3 credit bureaus. That will allow you to basically see what's on each bureau, and you want to make sure you match each and every one of them and see what's on there. Once you do that, if you see anything that's out of the ordinary, let's say, for instance, you have accounts that you didn't apply for, or you have collections that you have no idea about, then you definitely know that that's a telltale sign that, somebody has your information. So then at that point, you want to take the necessary steps to dispute or get rid of those accounts. So when you go to annualcreditreport.com, you will see a page such as this one here. And basically you will go to request now and request your report. Once you get there, they're going to ask you certain questions that only you would know. And then there'll be some questions on here that you don't even know. And that's basically the ones you know that, okay, they're just there just to test you and see if you are who you say you are, right? So it'll say something like you opened an account in auto loan in 2017. And if you don't have an auto loan, then you know that that's not yours. And you just say no, or it does not apply. All right. So another big way is basically protecting yourself, or another way of protecting yourself would be to use strong passwords or phrases. So if you use a password, make sure you have some kind of spaces in there, or you can use a password manager that will store all your passwords in there. So that way you don't have to worry about remembering each one of them. And then of course with phrases, you can use that where you have the space key in there, and that's a little bit harder to decipher, if you will. All right. So you can also do that. And then of course, don't just protect your computer, you can also protect your cell phone by using a passcode on there, or passphrase or something like that on your phone as well, to make sure that your devices are also protected. All right. So there are many ways. So in this case, you also want to make sure that you're vigilant and aware of everything. So stay clear of suspicious websites and links. So don't just click on anything. And then of course, don't give your personal information to a caller through their phone or email. And then of course, make sure you delete any of those emails that come your way, the phishing emails, and don't open any attachments either. So that way you stay protected. And then of course, with the protecting your personal documents, you want to make sure you invest in the shredder. So that way you're not relying on just throwing everything in the trash. And if you don't have any shredders, we do have 3 branches here in the Southern region. At least here in Tucson, we have 3. So feel free to stop by and, just ask or let them, the bankers or the tellers know that you're looking to shred some documents. So those shred bins are secure. They're locked at all times. I can't even open them. So you'd be rest assured that your documents are safe until they get shredded. And then of course, limit exposure. So only go to websites that are secure, or that that's actually a company that you've been working with. And if you're not sure, make sure you take the time to give that company a call and let them know, hey, is this your website? Or hey, did you send me this email? To make sure that you mitigate that risk. All right. Now, what if you're a victim? What do you do then? And that's something that a lot of people ask. So if you see that you have unexplained charges on your account, this actually just happened to me last week. So I went ahead and reported the fraud, and I'm waiting for a new card to come in. But when you see that, just know, okay, something is wrong here. Somebody has a hold of my, my accounting information. Let me go ahead and block it. The other thing too could be you're turned down for a credit card. That may also be basically a telltale sign that somebody, has your information, especially if you know that your credit is good and you're turned down, then you know that something is wrong there. So then the other thing too would be receiving credit cards that you didn't order. That's also another sign. Okay, somebody applied for something that I didn't. And that's why it's very important that you're monitoring your credit at least every, at least twice a year, or if not 3 times, because you can pull it as many times as you want, and it doesn't affect your credit at all. And then the inaccuracies on your report, once you do go ahead and pull it, that's also another sign. And then collection calls. So especially when you have those collection calls and they're calling in, hey, we need you to pay us this, that, and the other, and you never did or never had any business with that company, that's when you take action and go ahead and start disputing. But before you do all that, there's definitely certain steps that you have to take. And we're going to go ahead and get into that here for you. So the first step would be to get in touch with the government authorities. So you do have the right to create a FTC identity theft report. And then, of course, with your identity theft report, that helps prove to businesses that someone stole your identity. And it also makes it easier to correct the problem as fast as possible. And then, of course, once you do file that, then you go ahead and you contact the local police. You get a police report and you document that and put it together. And then in writing, you send it over to the credit bureaus, so that way they can go ahead and take those accounts off. And then, of course, reaching out to those creditors as well and letting them know that that's not your account. And they'll go ahead and remove that information from your report. Then the other thing is with the creditors or the collection agencies, if they're calling you on an account that's not yours, you do have the right to actually write in writing, send a letter to them to have them stop calling you, especially after you've already filed the FTC identity theft report. And then you also have the police report as well. And that in itself, make sure you document and keep it safe, so that way when you need it, you're able to basically claim your innocence, if you will. All right. So when you go to the FTC or the identity theft .gov website, once you go ahead and you create that form, they'll make sure that everything is documented, and then they'll reach out to the bureaus as well to make sure that you're taken care of. Now, it's a long process. That's why I said it's best to take the time to skim through everything, read through everything, especially when you receive an email, to make sure that it is indeed a legitimate email. So take the time, take 5 minutes, reach out to those companies and let them know, or at least find out whether or not it is them that are contacting you. So I'd rather take the 5 minutes than take months working on this just to fix your identity. All right. So when you report the identity theft to the police, there's some tendencies depending on where you live. Sometimes the police may not want to take that report, or they may delay. So it's very important that you take the initiative to follow up at all times when you contact the authorities, and keep meticulous records, so that way you're able to claim your innocence. And if not, and they're not willing to help you, then you can reach out to the Attorney General and let them know what's going on, and they'll work on your behalf to help you make sure that report is taken. Let's see. So yeah, so keep good records and then follow up, and we discussed that as well. And then again, so it's basically making sure you know your rights and make sure that you know what steps to take, what you need to do with the credit report as well. And that will definitely help you or arm you with everything that you need when it comes to that. And again, with the credit report, they do give you that every year. You have actually the rights to go ahead and request a credit report from the Bureau. So that way you're on top of everything. All right. So yeah, that is essentially all the information that I have on that. And of course, it was brought to you by Green Path Financial. So if you have any questions or concerns, we'll definitely make sure that we answer those for you as well. And I'll pass it on over.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. That's great information that you shared. Can you all hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. So thank you, Patrick. We do have a few questions that came through the chat. We do want to make sure that we bring those up to you. One of the questions was, what is your opinion on using suggested passwords for accounts? For example, when you're setting up an online account, is Instagram, Chase, etc., your phone, computer recommends an automated password. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, those are safe, essentially, because it's something that when you go ahead and use that suggested password, you won't even know what it is, essentially, because you'll be logging in either using your fingerprint or your facial recognition. So those are safe. It's definitely something that I use myself too. So yeah, it's definitely safe.
Jeanette, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
One thing I can share about passwords and how to create them is because my dad used to work as an IT tech teacher over at Brown Mackie College. He taught me the best way you can make your own password to where nobody can even remember it is by typing in something random like JK question mark 19 exclamation mark 45 TQ 6598 and then do like that. And then after you write it, like type it down in a random way, write it down on a piece of note and then hide it somewhere in the best hiding spot inside your house. So that way nobody else can find it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, to add to that, you definitely want to make sure it's as random as possible. And it's not something where it's like, you know, like a child's name, team 1, 2, 3. That's you know, that's really easy to decipher, if you will. So yeah, so adding some extra characters in there, maybe a space in there, is definitely the way to go. Any other questions?
Yes, definitely. We have a few other questions. So one of the questions is about passwords as well. I have heard about password generator apps that mix up your passwords constantly. How do those work?
I think that's just something where they just, the software is developed to just randomize the password, you know, essentially, but I can't really speak on that as far as how it works, but I'm pretty sure it's just something that's random. And the reason for that is it's something that cannot be deciphered easily. Again, it's all for security measures.
And another question, do you keep your passwords in a keychain like the iPhone cloud where it saves your passwords for you?
No, I don't. So there are some softwares out there, or apps, if you will. Some of them are, you know, are free, and some of them are on a subscription. But if you use those, they'll kind of store all your passwords in there, and then you only have one password to, you know, get in, or if you will, you know, it could be with your facial expression, or, you know, facial or thumbprint, and then it gets you in there. So that way you don't have to remember each and every one of them.
Patrick, another question is, how often should you change passwords? What's recommended at this time?
I do it often. I do it every so often. I'd say 30 days is ideal. That's usually how we do it, especially with my computer. It would tell me, oh, it's time to, you know, change your password every so often. But it's very important that you do, just in case if it's compromised, you know, it's already changed. Even if they get the current one, you already change it, and, you know, at that point, you know, you're safe.
Thank you. Any other questions from the group before we move on to our next activity? All right. If you think of any other questions, again, please make sure you add them to the chat. And again, we'll have some additional time for Q&A later on. But we want to make sure that we test you now. So not a grade, but want to make sure, you know, helping you out here that we all understand, you know, what what are the things that we're seeing. So we have a pop quiz for you. And I'm gonna go ahead and share a poll. So just bear with me here. All right, you have about 30 seconds to answer the poll. All right, seems like everybody is pretty much. All right, let's end the poll. So let's share these results. So what is phishing, right? So is the act of catching fish either for food or as a sport? No, that's not the answer. That's not the correct answer, but I can see why you would say that. And it's the fraudulent practice of sending emails purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information. And that is the correct answer. So 95% of you got it correct. Yay. And then the word phishing misspelled. So that's obviously not the case either. Great. All right. Good job, everybody. All right. So we have some additional activities for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen shortly. So all right, so hopefully you can all see my screen here. So on here, so what is fishy about this email? If you can, on the chat, just write down, like, when you look at this email, if this was an email that you were receiving, you know, what is fishy about it? What can you tell me is fishy about this email? Let's see. Asking to download something up front, yeah, definitely. Any others? Any other thoughts? The attachment part. The email is from Global Pay, but they're claiming to be Global Payments. That's a good catch. They don't have your last name. The misspelled words. You're all right on, right on. So definitely some of the items, the misspelling of words, definitely. So in the content of the email, the word please is misspelled. Also, you know, legit companies don't typically ask for your sensitive information via email. So that's another reason for you to, you know, be concerned. Your little red flag goes up. The suspicious attachment, I think that was the first thing that most of you noticed, was that attachment just doesn't look right at all. So definitely good job, everyone.
And just to add to that, and some of the things that are missing there, or what we didn't catch, would be addressed to just David. Usually a reputable company will use, you know, your full name. And of course, if you look at the date, this is from 2014. So essentially that would also be a telltale sign that, okay, something is wrong here. But great job. Yeah, that's definitely a good job there.
Thank you for pointing that out, Patrick. That's exactly right. And typically also in the Dear Customer, typically most companies will customize your email. So they'll say Dear Carla or Dear Patrick. You know, it won't typically, they'll address your name in the email content as well. So good job, everyone. All right. So let's try another one. So what is fishy about this email? If you can share your thoughts. Anything that stands out to you? So, for example, the date and email where it was sent from. The email doesn't match the company. That's a great point. The misspelling. Not personalized, the deadline within a week. All right, great. Those are all good, you're right on point. Those are all some of the reasons that this email is fishy. There's one that caught my attention right away. And it is the logo. That logo doesn't look right. Personally, I love Costco, so I think that's why I noticed the logo. I'm like, that's not the right logo. But definitely the logo, legit companies, double check. If it's a company that you normally, a store or a company that you normally work with, you tend to recognize their logo, their slogans, etc. And this one just immediately caught my attention. Like, that is definitely not Costco. But also, and you can confirm by, if you're not sure, you get an email and you're not sure, like, something's off, you can always check the website. Don't click on any other links. Go on a different browser, check websites to see, okay, is it legit? So this is not, the logo on the side is really the official company logo on there, but definitely the sender email, some of you mentioned that is definitely not even the company's email. So good job. And then, of course, as we mentioned, links, if you don't trust the source, don't click on the links.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if I may, and of course it says to, that's blank. Not sure if we caught that one. And then the biggest telltale sign is if you didn't order anything from Costco, right? So essentially it was like, okay, wait a minute, I didn't order anything, what's going on? So that will also be another sign.
Exactly. That's definitely shouldn't look like that. So good job, everyone. Great job. They're definitely not going to get you. All right. So now let's talk about smishing. So I'm going to go ahead and launch another poll here. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to answer this poll. We need some music, like the Jeopardy music or something. Yeah, I can see. That's all right. Doing good. All right. Most of you are right on. All right. Okay, let's take a look and see how you all did. Perfect score. So definitely not the act of smashing a fish. Good job, everyone. And it's not mingling at a party, gathering while, simultaneously doing something else. But it is the fraudulent practice of sending text messages, pretending to be from a reputable company in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information. So you got that one right. But let's see how well you can identify some things on here. All right, so the next slide is, what is smishy about this text? If you were to receive this text, what would be your first thought? The phone number is fake. Yep, definitely. FedEx. Good job. Good catch. The FedEx tracking number is a lot longer. All right, good. The tracking code, yeah, definitely. So I think most of you have identified the reasons why this particular text is smishy. So FedEx, you know, that's not the correct spelling of FedEx, right, for the company. If you were to go outside this text and just you know, open up FedEx's tracking website where you can track, or FedEx's website where you can track your order, and you were to put that number in, you would tell, you know, that's definitely not real. Also, if you did follow the hyperlink, then it would be asking you to enter sensitive information. So you definitely don't want to do that as well. So just, if you're unsure, it's always best not to follow up with that. So let's try a different one. Let's try another text. So what is smishy about this one?
I think banks will usually call you if there's weird activity on your account instead of sending a text message. They'll usually have like the fraud department call you or have somebody call you to confirm transactions and stuff.
Definitely, absolutely. Yes, the name on here, and then just it's not a secure link. You know, it's HTTP, not HTTPS. That's right. You got it. And as you said, one thing, you know, most banks, you all know your credit union or bank, you have your settings set up. So if you have text messaging, you'll know who you're getting that text, or it's an email, or it is a phone call. It just depends on what settings you have set up. So definitely legitimate companies won't send you a bit.ly link either. So definitely, you know, those are good things to notice. So y'all did great. So wow, you guys are just breezing through this. So all right, so next we do have a phishing video that we want to share with you. But before I do that, I'm gonna pop another quiz out there, okay, another poll. So here we go. Sorry. Let's see. So, what is phishing? You guys, great job. Good job. Let's see. All right. So we're going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. And excellent job, everyone. Definitely not the act of vanishing, right? Although it's fun. I would love that. It is definitely the fraudulent practice of making phone calls or leaving voice messages pretending to be from a reputable company to induce you to reveal your information. So again, everything smishy smishing, vishing, phishing, everybody is just trying to get your personal information. So just be aware of that. And it's not the practice of being vicious, although they can be, right? All right, so I'll stop sharing. And all right. So I'll share this video with you all.
They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and
Okay.
see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com.
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
So what are your thoughts about that? It gives me goosebumps when I see that, that it's so easy for somebody to just go in and change your information, right? It's not good at all. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I was just blown away when I saw the video. It's horrible. And to know that people do that, you know, to our information, to your personal information. So definitely. Does anybody have
They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is...
any thoughts on that?
I mean, I've worked in a call center before, so I know that they do training, lots of training on making sure that you have like verified the customers and stuff like that. So it's just crazy that like things like that still happen. Even it's with like the baby crying and just all of it. It's crazy.
Just, I mean, you probably feel bad for the person calling because you hear baby crying in the background and you just want to help them, right? That's your nature. So definitely it's important for all of us to be mindful of that.
Yeah, and that kind of takes me back a little bit, gives me flashbacks. I started off, you know, in the call center, if you will, and you know, you'd have somebody calling in, they don't have any, you know, a way to identify that they are who they say they are, and they'll get mad. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I have to identify you. I have to make sure that I get you into the account by you answering these questions. So, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Esther, you're right. She did sound like a professional hacker, right? Definitely. So just you know, it's really important that you're on, you know, that you're cognizant about all these things. We do have some additional resources for you that we want to share to explore more of these, learn more about scams out there. But we can share these later on. We will be sharing the slides as well with everyone, and a recording of this presentation will also be shared with all of you. So you'll have those resources available for future. But definitely, especially with our mobile phones now, I mean, we use them for everything, right? And so it's important to know when you should turn Bluetooth on, how, you know, people can easily walk by you and just get your information because your Bluetooth is on or your Wi-Fi is on. So it's important to understand these things.
We
Okay.
have 2 questions. Sorry, that came up.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
One was, how can you even defend against that? So against like the voice calling and stuff like that. Working in a call center, I would say to add a password to your account. And then make sure that they ask you the password every time you call in. Usually companies will allow a password to be put on their account, or you can have a password to let other people access your account and things like that. So I would talk to like a customer service person and ask if you can actually place a password on your account instead of them asking just your social or just your email or just your address. They have to ask you that like specific password is what I would say for that one. Patrick, do you have anything to add?
Essentially what you said, yeah. So when you put something like it can also be one of those things where if you're online, they give you options to actually add those as well. But yeah, what you said is definitely right on point. Making sure you have, you know, it could be a phrase, and every time you call in, they ask you what's the phrase or, you know, what's the PIN. You know, setting something like that up would definitely help.
Okay, one more. It was, I've experienced fraudulent activity in which they access your bank account and begin small transactions, like 50 cents, $1 at a time, for a period of time before withdrawing a large sum. Is this common practice? And do you know how fraud scams like these operate?
Yeah, and essentially, so like 2 weeks ago, so I was at the gas station and somebody was tampering with the machines. So they usually have certain scanners, you know, that they put on those machines to where when you put in your card, it reads your card, it reads all your information. And then at that point, you're going to punch in your PIN anyway. So it takes that as well. And then they're able to kind of duplicate those cards and then try to charge on them small amounts just to make sure that, you know, the card works, right? And if it does and you don't catch it, then at that point they try for another amount, you know, and then they keep trying until they go for the, you know, the larger amount. So the best thing that you'd want to do is set up alerts, especially with your bank through the mobile app, or you can, you know, go online and log in, set up alerts where it lets you know when either your balance drops to a certain amount or if a certain transaction is presented, then at least that way, you know right away that, oh, okay, somebody's got a hold of my information. Then, you know, you go ahead and place that fraud block so that way they can change the account information for you. And that's essentially what I did. I have alerts on mine, and that's how I was able to catch them. So fortunately, I have, you know, 2 bank accounts. So in essence, if one is compromised, I can continue using the other one until the other card comes in. Or if you have a credit card, you continue using your credit card until, you know, something like that is resolved.
Thank you. So we have 2 more that came in. What's your opinion on using Apple Pay or Google Pay?
Those are secure. So essentially, you're adding your card to those, you know, to those apps, you know, Apple Pay or Google Pay. So it's secure. So the one thing you got to understand is that most institutions are FDIC insured. So if you notice fraud and you report it as soon as possible, you're not liable for that, you know, fraudulent transaction, as long as it wasn't you that actually, you know, utilized it. So that's definitely one thing you got to understand. And then of course with us, it's an NIC or something like that for credit unions. But yes, they have that, you know, security in place to make sure that you're not liable for any fraud.
Awesome, thank you. What do you do if you accidentally click a link and realize a second too late that it looked a little sketchy?
So with those links, they're just redirecting you, right? So they're essentially redirecting you so that way you can put in the sensitive information. So if you click on it and it gets you to the other side and you don't put anything in, you're fine. So just make sure you run an antivirus software on your computer so that way it can catch if there's any malware or anything like that. But the one thing that you should be wary of is attachments. If you click on that attachment and you download whatever that is, then of course they can even take advantage of, take control of your computer and actually do a whole lot of things that you don't want to happen. So I'd be more worried about the attachments as opposed to the link, because the link just redirects you. So that way you put in that information.
Good to know. Thank you. Those are all the questions that I took down that I noted. Does anybody else have any other questions?
So we have one more question coming in, Patrick. What kind of antivirus software do you recommend?
There's one that's called Avaya, I believe. You can definitely utilize that one, but McAfee is also a good one, and it's reputable. It's been there for a while, but you have to be wary of that one as well, because the fraudsters use that as a way to gain more information from people that don't know. But always from McAfee, and then you see the charge on there. And I do remember one client coming in, and she was like, "Wait a minute, I haven't been to McDonald's. What's this?" But they didn't know that it was just fraudsters pretending to be McAfee. So yeah, that's definitely one of the good ones to use. And then of course there's some malware software online that you can get, but you have to be careful as well as to which ones you use. So but yeah, just making sure your computer is up to date is also another way, because it actually helps prevent fraudsters from getting control of your computer, because they rely on information staying the same, so that when they code the systems to gain access, and if you don't update your computer, then they're going based off of the old information. So if you update continuously, then they have to try to play catch up, if you will. So it's important to be on top of that as well.
If I could add to that, I worked at Comcast a few years ago, and your internet provider actually should offer you free antivirusware that you can go to their websites and stuff like that, or log into your account and actually download it for free on multiple devices and stuff like that. I helped my mom do that on her laptop because she was getting some weird things. And so I would check with them. I know Comcast does it. I know Cox does it. So I would check with your internet provider also, because they usually offer it for free.
That's great. That's great advice, Juanita. Thank you. I didn't know about that. That's great. And also, those of you that may have some elderly parents or grandparents out there, it's always helpful to check on their stuff too, because they're so vulnerable. They don't know of all these. They don't know about phishing and vishing and smishing. So it's helpful, for you to check on them as well. So because unfortunately they're vulnerable. So
yeah, and to add to that, I actually do remember a lady. I was at FedEx, and the lady went in and she was actually trying to mail money in an envelope to the fraudster, stating that, oh, this is from the IRS and they need their money, and if I don't pay them right away, I'll be locked up or something like that. And I told them, I'm like, fortunately I'm here because I do work for a bank, and I do know that that's not a common practice. So we're actually able to stop that, from going through. But yeah, it's very important to take some time to check in on our elderly, because they're definitely vulnerable when it comes to that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions from the group? Great questions, everyone. No? All right. So I guess it's time to announce our winners. Drum roll. Okay, I'm not going to do that, but so we want to first of all thank everyone who followed us on our social media accounts for Pima's first year experience programs and for the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. But those who did were entered into a drawing, and the following people are our winners. And drum roll. All right. So congratulations to Eloise Wilson. Woo-hoo. And Zoe Delmonico. Woo-hoo! Congratulations to you both. You each won. So what did you win? So you each won a Pima water bottle, which you can see pictured on the slide, which we will send that soon to the mailing address provided in your Pima student profile. So please allow just a few weeks for us to get things packaged and delivered to you in the mail. If you have not received your prize by this time next month, please follow up with us so that we can troubleshoot and track down your prize. But congratulations to all the winners today. So with that, we do want to thank everyone for attending this last Money Matters session for the fall semester, but not for the year. So stay tuned because we will be offering 3 more Money Matters sessions. I can't speak this afternoon. We will be offering 3 more Money Matters sessions in the spring semester, one in February, one in March, one in April. So stay tuned. We will be sharing that information. The topics are slightly different than the topics we offered this fall semester. So please spread the word with your friends, family, students, colleagues. And again, to receive your certificate of completion, you must complete our survey. So on the screen, you can see the survey, and then Juanita just shared it via the chat as well. And if you can go ahead and complete that survey, we would love to learn and hear from you what you think. And then again, if you were one of the folks that attended all of our sessions, you will be entered into a drawing for a $250 tuition award at Pima Community College that you can use either towards this fall semester or next spring semester. And we will be announcing the winner through our social media. So please make sure you like us and follow us on social media. And also, last but not least, a huge thanks to our partners from 1AZ Credit Union. Patrick, thank you so much for being here today for presenting this valuable information. And thank you to First Year Experience for helping collaborate and support Money Matters this year. And of course, thank you. And of course, the financial aid staff that help make it possible as well. I do want to share, though, before I let you go, that the partnership with Pima Community College and 1AZ does have some additional things, benefits to offer you. So Patrick, do you want to mention a little bit about what 1AZ can offer?
Yeah, definitely. So with the landing page, if you scroll a little bit to the bottom there. So with the partnership, you're able to basically, if any of you are interested in opening an account or becoming members, you can get $100 in your pocket there, just to, as an incentive, if you will. But again, you also have a lot more than just the $100, which is basically you're able to sit down with an advisor and go over a goals-based analysis with them, just to prepare yourself for retirement, because everybody, will get to that point. So this is definitely a benefit that you can all take advantage of. And if you do, or you are interested, you can definitely express that on the survey. And then once we get a hold of that, you'll be able to basically receive a call from either myself or one of the bankers to go over the next steps. But before we go here, if you go to the top there a little bit, all the way to the top, and you click on business,
A little slow on my end, sorry.
no worries. And then you go to workplace banking, which is the next, right up, there you go. You'll find me there at the bottom there, basically the Southern region. So I'm here in the local branches. So if you need anything, if you have any questions, or if you need any help, you can either just click on that and you'll be able to find me. You can either give me a call or email me, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. So I'm definitely here at your disposal. And anyone else at 1AZ can definitely help you with anything you need.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And also to share, they have a lot of great resources on their website as well. So please, this is a great opportunity and a contact for you. So on the survey, feel free to say yes, and we will share your contact information with Patrick, and he can contact you. But again, complete that survey so that 1AZ can provide a completion certificate for you. And please allow about a week or so for that completion certificate to come your way after you've completed the survey. So anything else for anybody want to share anything else? No. All right.
Since we have some time, do you want to go over scholarship stuff?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you. Good idea. So if you are a Pima student currently, we do have some spring scholarships opening up at Pima Community College here this coming Monday. So registration opens for the spring semester on November 8th, and that's when our scholarships are going to open as well. Sorry, and so what I am about to add on here is our Pima Scholarship Universe. That is the system that we use for scholarships. So you can find all scholarships, both internal, meaning college scholarships, and external scholarships in here. And as a student, you can see the different scholarships that are available to you just by logging in. But also, if you are currently in high school or not currently attending Pima, we also have scholarships that are open for next academic year. So if you're planning to come to Pima next academic year, now's the time to start applying for the Pima Merit Scholarship and the Pima Excellence Scholarship. And some information about the scholarships are on our website as well. So I'm sorry, going to different sites here, but pima.edu, search for scholarships, and you can see the different types of scholarships. So these are the ones that we are just that are open for next academic year. And then just to log in or find scholarships on any of the scholarship pages, you'll see the orange button, and that'll take you directly to Scholarship Universe. You do have to be admitted to Pima to be able to access Scholarship Universe, but other than that, it's open to all. So did you want to add anything, Lita?
I shared the link for the public page. So even if you're not admitted to Pima, or you know somebody who is, or you have a student that's coming and they're interested or anything like that, you can look at that public page and you can see what scholarships we're actually offering and the amounts, what the requirements are when they'll start accepting applications and such.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And of course, first year experience has a lot of programs as well that are currently going on. So please stay tuned, and we appreciate your time today. So we're still here. We still have time. So if you want to stay and ask additional questions, we're here for you. Sure, go ahead. Eloise.
Hi, so this might be like a silly question, but it's worth asking anyways. So I'm waiting to apply to the, I'm a transfer student. So I'm waiting to apply to U of A until after the fall semester grades are in. So I won't have access to their scholarship universe. Is there like a big difference between Pima's scholarship universe and University of Arizona?
Great question. So it is the same system. However, you'll be able to find the same external scholarships, meaning scholarships that are not from the college will be in Scholarship Universe, so you can start looking. However, the difference between Pima's Scholarship Universe and U of A Scholarship Universe is that our institutional scholarships you won't have access to. So if you're planning to transfer to to U of A, You'll definitely need access to their scholarship universe for their for U of A specific scholarships. But they do have some information on the website. You may be able to reach out to the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid at U of A to learn more about other opportunities that may be available.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And there's no silly questions. So please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions or financial aid questions? Scholarships? Credit union? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate you joining us today. And again, stay tuned for the spring events. We will start sharing information as soon as we have those dates and topics finalized. But we'll be here again next semester. And if we don't talk to you soon, have a happy holiday this coming Thanksgiving, and stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you.